Here in about 5 minutes. Does everybody find a seat, please?
I'm already going.
Hi, everyone.
I'm not taking one.
Oh.
I'm just doing water.
You just look.
Never go through
Sure, put
water.
the water here. I'll go for it when it's time to do.
Okay, just since you have it.
I know.
We know. I'm just trying to find
Yes, I know. Prematurely on the live feed. Introduce yourself.
I'm Colton Compton. I'm from Portland, Indiana.
You're running with us?
Yeah, I'm running from the Illinois state line all the way down to Kentucky.
How many days is that? How many months are you going to run?
It's a good question. I'm not sure yet.
You are in the Army.
Yes, I'm the National Guard. I'm Delta Company, the 20152 infantry. So,
When did you join the Army?
2016, back in March.
Thanks for your service. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Donald. Say hi. Hi, America. Tell your story. Why are you here? What are you doing?
My name is Donald Gillespie, and I am going to run in Indiana. I run in honor of my cousin, Lance Corporal David Fribley from Warsaw, Indiana. So glad to be a part of the running group.
Nice. Are you joining us for running?
Yep.
Tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Tell our live feed who you are.
I'm Dick Dickerman. I'm from Cherubusco, Indiana. I'm going to be running all of Indiana.
All of it?
Yeah. And I'm running because I'm thankful that I am not a Gold Star member and running for those who can never run again because they gave their life.
Thank you.
Hi, how you doing? I'm here to round all of the runners and our support staff and volunteers. We're all going to sit at that long table right up in front.
Thank you for joining us.
No, I.
Color short. Hi, Winona. Hi. There was a Facebook intro of you on our Run for the Fallen page today. An interview? It was an intro. It was like,
Whoa.
I missed anybody. I got sure.
Everybody over here. I got the tables over there.
I
didn't get
that corner over there. Yeah, in the corner.
I was out there.
So what? I'll just show you. And it was like a post about this is Winona. We have to run. Tell us that where you're from. And you know. Don Finnegan. You got to introduce yourself to our followers.
I have to introduce myself.
Yeah, tell us who you are.
My name is Don Finnegan. I'm
Okay.
the state captain for Indiana, beautiful Indiana. Honoring and remembering the Indiana Run for the Fallen.
Awesome.
And we've had a chapter for since March of 2013, and we will present our 154th Honor and Remember personalized flag tonight.
Awesome.
It's great.
There it is.
Thank you.
Waiting.
There it is.
Thank
It is
you.
there. It is
Thanks
ready
for
to
having
go.
us in Indiana.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
stuck with
you.
us for a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone, on behalf of those and everyone, to have everyone here, it's our pleasure and shovel. We appreciate everything you're doing behind you 1,000%. Welcome to Post 91. Welcome to Southern Indiana.
Everybody, what an amazing welcome. I have not seen a welcome like that. I can't even remember. I think we're into our 14th state.
12.
Can't remember the count of state that we're in right now. I think it's 14.
12.
12. Is it 12? Wow. In 12 states, you know, a welcome beautiful array of flags out there, just amazing. It's inspiring to us. I'll tell you, after a long day of running, and in the heat and the wind and every other kind of weather condition, it's arduous. You know, it's a long 10-hour day. We start at 7 in the morning. We get up at 5. We start running at 7. And you can imagine we're running till 4 or 5 in the afternoon. That's what? 7 to 3 is 8 hours, right? So 9, 10 hours in a day. And that's something that we do every single day and have done. But to start us out, my name is George Lutz. I'm the founder of the Honor and Remember organization. And I'm sure everyone knows about Honor and Remember. I don't have to explain what Honor and Remember is. Anybody who doesn't know about Honor and Remember? Okay, thanks, Robert. Okay, just because Robert doesn't know, I'm going to take the next 30 minutes to explain Honor and Remember. So Honor and Remember was an organization founded 10 years ago this year on Memorial Day, 2008. And it was established to bring public remembrance to our fallen military, but especially their families. All right, so that is our mission, was to leave a legacy of remembrance with the establishment of the Honor and Remember flag. And everybody's seen that, it's flying outside, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that. So one of the ways that we felt was important to remember was to call the names out loud of those that gave their lives to our country. One of the most important things you can do to remember is to actually have a name and to say it out loud. And not only to those that are around us, but to those that are watching us live on would you all silence your cell phones, please? That wasn't mine. I thought it was. It'll still ring. So what we did was, as an organization, we compiled the names of every fallen service member who died in the last 18 years. We thought that the War on Terror was a good place to begin to honor those who died while serving and preserving our freedom in our contemporary time period, right? While in the time when we're all living. And so we started with the USS Cole, October 12, 2000, and we compiled a list of names, working with the Department of Defense and some other organizations that would allow us to just gather, not just the names of those who died in battle, but the names of those who died under any circumstances, whether it be in training or by other means, or even through the hidden wounds of post-traumatic stress. So we have compiled this large database, probably the largest database of anyone for American service members in the world, even larger than the DoD. Because the DoD doesn't account for every single casualty depending on how it happened. And so what we have done is we've even, through our search engine, have allowed people to go to the website and add names of people that weren't there. So that database keeps accumulating. And that people ask me, well, how did you get to the 20,000? Because really there's close to 7,000 battle casualties. Well, there's obviously 3 times that many that have died while serving. So we wanted to make sure we honored all of them. And what we did was we took those 20,000 names and we divided them up by their date of death, by their casualty date. And that way we did a number of things, but we were able to have commonality, but we were also able to give families an opportunity to meet other families who they might not have known had a loss on that same day. And that's happened many times over the course of our journey. So in some small way, we're bringing extra healing. So we've taken those dates of death, and what we found out that those 20,000 names went into approximately 6,000 dates of death. And so we thought, well, let's build a trail across America, 1 mile at a time, that accounted for every one of those dates, and this is where we get our 6,000-mile journey that we're running. And we figured that we have so much support here in Indiana that we had to run through Indiana. So part of our route in picking states was, well, we have to come to Indiana. So how are we going to get to Indiana? And we ended up with a 19-state path from California, Fort Irwin, California, to Arlington National Cemetery. We started on April 7th. We're going to end on August the 5th. At 2 o'clock, we're going to have a ceremony. So you all are invited. Section 60. You'll be there? A lot of us will be there. And so what happens mile after mile is we, starting with the USS Cole in 2000, we have added each one of those dates on a trail consecutively. So we start with October 12, 2000. The next date of death is October 13th. That's the next mile. The next date of death might be, I don't remember, it might have been November 1st. That's the next mile. And so we're running like that consecutively from the oldest casualties to the present day casualties. And we even had to add, since we started planning this 2.5 years ago, we even had to add extra miles because we knew we would have more casualties. So we added 1,000 miles to the end of our journey, and we've just about used them all up in our 2 years of planning. And our hope is when we have our final ceremony in Arlington, that we will actually read the very last name of the last person who died to that very minute, if we can get that information. So we're calling this the most comprehensive fallen veteran tribute ever compiled. Never heard of it before, and we're doing our best to make sure that it's done reverently and respectfully, mile after mile. So we have a core team that is staying with us and a part of this whole journey, 5-month journey. They're taking the time to do that. And I'd like for the team to raise their hand. Everybody who's part of the core team, raise your hand. Just look around. These are those that have committed. And then with a lot of help, I'm talking about hundreds of other people. You know, we're just the ones on the ground. But those that come in to do running and to support, bring lunches, and do driving, whatever. I want to call out Don Gillespie here. Don has been one of the main organizers of the runners across America. Without his help, we wouldn't have near the support that we have. So Don, raise your hand, please. And of course, everyone knows Don Finnegan. Or they should. Do they know you, Don? So we now come into his state, and he promises us that it's going to be the best one yet. So it's already started that way, right? And then we have those that have been joining us. Steve Goldstar Dad was in Arizona. He had to come back out and spend a few more days of running with us. We appreciate that. And whoever else helped us today, I wasn't around most of the day. Raise your hand, you guys. Extra runners. Anybody else? Nobody else today. So what these runners are doing is they're carrying full-size flags, 4 full-size flags, right? Mile after mile. And the U.S. flag, the state flag, we turned it over to Indiana, right, Kristen? Got the Indiana state flag. The honor and sacrifice flag, if you haven't heard about that, that's a flag that we established 2 years ago for fallen police and firefighters. So that's a new flag that we created. And then the honor and remember flag, which I already discussed, everybody knows about. They're also carrying a placard with the names of the fallen that we're going to read, and a set of small little flags for each name that's on those placards. So we run to a marker, we come to attention, we ask if there's any Gold Star families there, because often there are. We want to make sure we identify them and recognize them. And then we begin to read our placard. This hero marker is dedicated to those service members who lost their lives on this particular day, whatever day that may be that we're running for. And then we read the names, and as we're reading the names, we're planting a set of flags in the ground for each one of those heroes. Sometimes we're running for one, sometimes we're running for 50. Often, it's more than one. It's 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, whatever that number may be. And those are all those that died on the same day, not in the same incident, but died on the same day anywhere in the world. Day, month, and year. And then, once that's done, they come back to attention. They hand salute in reverence to those heroes that we ran for. And then they pick up the next placard, the next set of flags, and off they go to the next marker. And this happens hour after hour after hour, every single day. We get one day off every 2 weeks. And other than that, we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're done whenever we're done. And sometimes it's 10 or 11 at night. It's very, very emotionally and physically draining. I can't even explain to you, what it takes to put all this together and make it all happen. A lot of moving parts, a lot of people, a lot of support, and it's very, very much appreciated because our mission is to make sure that we leave this message in America that it is important that we recognize those who gave their lives, but especially their families, so that other families don't have to send their loved ones, because the ones that have paid that price. And so it's very, very important that we send that message. So the more people that participates with us, the more people that understand what we're doing, the more people that are able to share that outside of the post with their friends, their families, their co-workers, whoever it may be. Hopefully, our vision as a team is that this goes viral. It should be the most important news in the country, the most important positive news. And yet, we haven't had any national coverage at all. And we've been running for 75 days. 75 days. And we've already run for 14,359 service members. Up to today, we have read out loud 14,359. And we have run 3,432 miles. 3,432 miles. Over 75 days. And today alone, we ran for 229 heroes and 55 gates of death. So remember, we're running a marker to the date of death. So 55 markers today, 229 heroes. Do the math. It's a little, almost 2 months of casualties. And what we do every night, rather than me be long-winded, I just wanted to kind of paint the picture of what we're doing so you understand. And then what we do every single night, regardless of whether we're together as a team, alone, and sometimes we are. We don't have a gathering like this some nights, and we're just by ourselves. But one of the things is our tradition every night is to reread the names of everyone that we ran for that day, because we're reading them, and we only have those around us who happen to be at the marker to help do the ceremony. Every mile is a ceremony, right? So we've had 3,400 ceremonies, if you look at it that way. We've conducted over the last 75 days. And so those that are there get to hear the names, and maybe some people, we have this live stream. In case you didn't know that, you go to runforthefallen.org, there's a live feed button. You actually watch us all day long, hear us reading those names. But we don't know who's watching. So we want to make sure that in the quiet of a place like this, where we're embraced and welcome, that we get to reread the names so that they're heard properly and respectfully. And the families, it's recorded so that the families know that their loved ones were remembered. And so you get to, with us, get to hear those names of those that we read for. As I mentioned, it's 229 names. It's going to take a few minutes. So you don't have to stand, but it's going to take a few minutes. So I ask that you be patient. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to listen as if you're their family member. Because you are here standing for a family who could not be here. And so I would like for you to take the place of that family and listen to those names. And we're going to do our best on pronunciation. Some of them are really difficult, but we do our best. And, it's in our heart that we reverently and respectfully make sure that they're not forgotten. So we're going to read that tonight, and then I'll come back and close. And I'm going to give them the dates.
Private Alexander Richard Richardson, United States Army. Senior Airman Troy Lee Edwards, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Cody S. Childers, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Alexis V. Maldonado, United States Army. Specialist Armando Galvin Aguirre, Jr., United States Army. Senior Master Sergeant Leonard Stephen Kendrick, United States Air Force. Master Sergeant Willis Donald Henderson, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Nathaniel J. A. Schultz, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Brandon E. McGart, United States Army. Sergeant Stephen Joseph DeLuzio, United States Army. Specialist Tristan Howard Southworth, United States Army. Specialist Melatish Pedro Antonio Millet, United States Army. Master Sergeant Lamar Robinson, United States Air Force. Tech Sergeant Daniel Izan, United States Air Force. Sergeant Jason D. Callow, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer First Class Larry Bournes, United States Navy. Chief Warrant Officer 2 Todd Stephen Wilson, United States Army. Lance Corporal Robert J. Newton, United States Marine Corps.
Sergeant Ronald A. Rodriguez, U.S. Marine Corps. PSC Justin B. Shoecraft, United States Army. Seaman Seth Allen Horton, U.S. Navy. Staff Sergeant Lee Conrad Kristolski, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel John Joseph Camps III, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Fernando Jarrett Gandy, United States Army. Private First Class Chad D. Coleman, United States Army. Private Adam J. Novak, United States Army. Master Sergeant Daniel L. Fetter, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 3 Kashif Lee Turner, United States Navy. Petty Officer 3 James Michael Swink, United States Navy. Sergeant Brandon Wade Tabor, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Salam Brown, United States Army. Specialist Andrew J. Castro, United States Army. Specialist Brian Todd Raver, United States Army. Captain Ellery R. Wallace, United States Army. Specialist James C. Robinson, United States Army. Sergeant Patrick K. Durham, United States Army. Master Sergeant Benjamin Jasper Kelly, United States Air Force. Sergeant Roberto Zamora, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Raymond Albera Nueve, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Michael Jeffrey Laville, United States Army. Captain Dwayne Fernando Simmons, United States Army. Staff Sergeant James R. Ide, United States Army. Gunnery Sergeant Floyd E. C. Holly, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 2 Joseph Adam Howell, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Casey J. Grochowek, United States Army. Specialist Chad D. Clements, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Mark Ziska, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Kevin J. Kessler, United States Army. Captain Dale A. Getz, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Jesse Infante, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Matthew J. West, United States Army. Sergeant Raymond C. Alcaraz, United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Vincent B. Atkinson III, United States Army. Major Paul Arthur Egley, United States Army. Private First Class James A. Page, United States Army. Private First Class Matthew Eric George, United States Army. Corporal Henio Luis Santiago, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Cody A. Roberts, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Joseph A. Bovia, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Christopher B. Rogers, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Diego M. Montoya, United States Army. Master Sergeant Amy Marie Winger, United States Air Force. Lance Corporal Joshua T. Twig, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Ross S. Carver, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Third Class Mitch C. Gold, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Antonio Almendarez, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Michael Anthony Sams, United States Army. Sergeant Jesse M. Balthazar, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant David Robert Gerhardt, United States Army. Captain Jason T. McMahon, United States Army. Private Stephen John Coswick, United States Army. Sergeant Stephen Matthew Anderson, United States Marine Corps. Tech Sergeant Timothy Roger Hogan, United States Air Force. Petty Officer Third Class Alexander Martin Gimbutas, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Philip Chad Jenkins, United States Army. Private First Class James F. McClamrock, United States Army. Second Lieutenant Caitlin V. Leclerc, United States Army. Sergeant Philip C. Jenkins, United States Army. Corporal Philip G. E. Charp, United States Marine Corps. Corporal John C. Bishop, United States Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant Brian Matthew Gass, United States Air Force. Corporal Rex Kevin Brown Jr., United States Marine Corps. First Lieutenant Todd W. Weaver, United States Army. Sergeant Stephen Bernard Eckert, United States Army. Airman First Class Michael Lamar Rio, United States Air Force.
Sergeant Aaron Keith Kramer, United States Army. Lance Corporal John Charles West, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Ricky Adam Lynn, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Edwin Ramos, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Joseph Lafayette Dukes Jr., United States Marine Corps. Specialist Roland Espinoza, United States Army. Private First Class Joshua A. Halverson, United States Army. Corporal LZ James Kane, United States Army. Senior Airman Matthew James O'Prien, United States Air Force. Major Michael Charles Colley Jr., United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Danielle M. Crone, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Robert Anthony Brazil, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Jason Rodney Hartman, United States Air Force. Major Andrew LaDrew Edens, United States Army. Senior Airman James A. Hansen, United States Air Force. Specialist Timothy L. Johnson, United States Army. Sergeant Aaron K. Kramer, United States Army. Lieutenant Commander Michael Shane Wallace, United States Army. Sergeant John F. Berner III, United States Army. Senior Airman Daniel R. Sanchez, United States Air Force. Specialist D'Angelo B. Snow, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Jamie C. Newman, United States Army. First Lieutenant Scott J. Fleming, United States Marine Corps. Master Sergeant Billy Wayne Ruff, United States Army. Sergeant Christopher Michael Parodi, United States Army. Sergeant James Michael Abell, United States Army. Specialist First Class Makisha Crystal Wood, United States Army. Specialist First Class Ronald A. Girder, United States Army. First Lieutenant Eric Yates, United States Army. Private First Class Barbara Vieira, United States Army. Specialist Joshua A. Harton, United States Army. Captain Paul D. Caron, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Brian Michael Carrier, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel John Victor Pearson, United States Army National Guard.
Sergeant Christopher Andrew Myers, United States Army. Private Christopher Lewis Tim, United States Army. Private First Class Joshua S. Ose, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Third Class Arwin Lee Wright, United States Navy. Senior Chief Petty Officer Jeffrey Lawrence Miller, United States Navy. Staff Sergeant Justin Charles J., United States Army. Staff Sergeant Joshua David Powell, United States Army. Major Robert F. Baldwin, United States Army. Sergeant Marvin R. Calhoun Jr., United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 2 Jonah D. McClellan, United States Army. Chief Warrant Officer 3 Matthew G. Wagstaff, United States Army. Colonel Charles Martin Bolin, United States Air Force. Senior Airman Michael J. Barras, United States Air Force. Sergeant Aaron Michael Thomas Levere, United States Marine Corps. Senior Chief Petty Officer David B. McClendon, United States Navy. Lieutenant Brendan J. Looney, United States Navy. Petty Officer Second Class Adam O. Smith, United States Navy. Petty Officer Third Class Dennis C. Miranda, United States Navy. Lance Corporal Anthony J. Rosa, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Mark Clayton Weissennat, United States Army. Private First Class Clinton E. Springer II, United States Army. Specialist John Carrillo Jr., United States Army. Private First Class Gabra P. Noonan, United States Army. First Sergeant Kenny Allen Fike, United States Army. Sergeant Johnny Arden Parsons Jr., United States Army. Specialist Kimberly Lynn Sheriff, United States Army. Private First Class Jacine P. S. Petrie, United States Army. Private First Class William Brandon Dawson, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Hazen Whitaker Jr., United States Marine Corps. Specialist Jamie Lee Elliott, United States Army. Sergeant Mark A. Simpson, United States Army. Private First Class Brandon Matthew Dyer, United States Army. Specialist Donald Scott Morrison, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Nikki Bruce Jones II, United States Army.
Staff Sergeant Thomas Perez Jr., United States Army. Sergeant First Class Deborah Ann Nabel, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Thomas Lindsay Watkins, United States Army. Fireman Jeffrey M. Swoboda, United States Coast Guard. Sergeant First Class Samuel Townsend, United States Army. Lance Corporal Ralph J. Fabry, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Justin A. Officer, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Calvin B. Harrison, United States Army. Senior Airman Mark Andrew Forrester, United States Air Force. Sergeant Zachary David Kaiser, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer 3 Kenneth Ray McKee, United States Navy. Specialist Guzanfer Zaka Sheikh, United States Army. Lance Corporal Timothy M. Jackson, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant First Class Melvin Camacho Manglona, United States Army. Sergeant Jeffrey Lee Drake, United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel William Eugene Cortez, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Lance H. Vogler, United States Army. Specialist Luther W. Rabone Jr., United States Army National Guard. Staff Sergeant Willie J. Harley Jr., United States Army National Guard. Sergeant Anthony D. Mattioni, United States Marine Corps. Master Sergeant Mark Joseph McQuaid, United States Army. Sergeant Brian J. Pedro, United States Army. Specialist Hugh Aloysius Marquez Jr., United States Army. Lieutenant Colonel Carolyn Sue Blake, United States Army. Airman First Class Joshua James Bushy, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant James Daniel James Warner, United States Army. Private Larry Richard Klein, United States Army. Sergeant Carl A. Campbell, United States Army. Specialist Joseph T. Prentler, United States Army. Specialist Ryan G. Clark, United States Army. PFC Cody A. Board, United States Army. Senior Airman Daniel J. Johnson, United States Air Force. Sergeant John D. Delaney, United States Army National Guard. Specialist Justin Michael Harris, United States Army.
Corporal Stephen C. Sokolowski, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Scott A. Lynch, United States Marine Corps. Airman First Class Benjamin Luis Carter, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Commander Ronald Cleve Ward, United States Army. Sergeant Christopher J. Schofer, United States Army. Major Sherilyn Watrell O'Neill, United States Army. Lance Corporal John T. Sparks, United States Marine Corps. Hospitalman Edwin Gonzalez, United States Navy. Private Brandon Robert Aran, United States Army. Captain Amy Jo Brown, United States Air Force. Private First Class David A. Hess, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Dave J. Weigel, United States Army. First Lieutenant Lisa Alanis Escher, United States Air Force. Staff Sergeant Tony Daniel Nix, United States Army. Captain Garrett Crawford Slaughter, United States Army. Sergeant Frank R. Zeringer III, United States Marine Corps. Specialist Matthew C. Powell, United States Army. Specialist Alexander Scott Brusak, United States Army. Sergeant First Class Ishmael Gilliam Jr., United States Army. Specialist Jordan Bird, United States Army. Lance Corporal Raymond L. A. Johnson, United States Marine Corps. Gunnery Sergeant Kevin Dean Stewart, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Victor A. Dew, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Philip D. Vinich, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Joseph E. Rodwald, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Justin J. Kane, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer First Class Kumba Malik Calvin, United States Navy. Specialist Rafael Martinez Jr., United States Army. Sergeant Eric C. Newman, United States Army. Sergeant Carlos A. Benitez, United States Army. Private First Class Tremaine J. Billingsley, United States Army. Lance Corporal Irvin M. Siniceros, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal Joseph C. Lopez, United States Marine Corps.
Lance Corporal Alec E. Catherwood, United States Marine Corps. Corporal Kimo Bolden Abraham, United States Marine Corps. Lance Corporal James D. Bolick, United States Marine Corps. Private First Class Dylan T. Reed, United States Army. Staff Sergeant Luke Travis Kimball, United States Air Force. Private Fernando Guadalajaro Perez, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Ian M. Tawney, United States Marine Corps. Petty Officer Second Class Seth James Frias, United States Navy.
$229 names over 55 dates of death. Thank you for your patience. One of the things that we do after we've read our names is that we allow anyone who's with us to speak out loud the name of anyone that they might be holding in their heart. It could be a loved one, it could be a neighbor, it could be a comrade in arms, it could be anyone from the community. Just an opportunity to say a name out loud that may be meaningful to you or to your family. And so we're just going to take a couple of minutes. It doesn't matter the generation. It doesn't have to be in this window of time that we're running for. Any generation of fallen service member. Don't be shy. But we won't wait for long. So who would like to name someone out loud? Go ahead.
My son, EFC Eric Stephen Weinrich, United States Army. And that's a Pulaski name. My oldest brother, Sergeant First Class John Stafford Weinrich, United States Army, retired.
Yes, sir.
Leroy Carl Red. Marine Private First Class DMC Vietnam.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My uncle, Seaman Second Class Lewis R. Blackburn, United Battle Corps Senior in World War II.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Donald Victor Voigt, U.S. Navy.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Brett C. Harding, United States Army.
Yes, ma'am.
Staff Sergeant Thomas J. Ott, United States Army.
Yes, ma'am.
My nephew, Sergeant Brian Jeffrey Lettenberg, National Guard.
Yes, ma'am.
Robert J. Todder, National Guard, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, CJ Colby, U.S. Army.
Yes, sir.
Ryan Radke, Army.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My brother, Michael Wayne House from the United States Navy.
Yes, sir.
I got three of them, three generations. My brother, Larry Martoni, Vietnam, Sergeant in the Marines. My father, Augustine Martoni Jr., Augustine Martoni Sr., Knight of World War II, U.S. Air Force Army, and our son, Justin Robert Martoni, Gunnery Justin Robert Martoni, in 2006 in Iraq.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My brother-in-law, Frank Ovino, Korean War.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My uncle, Gail Michael, Pearl Harbor, 1941, December 7th, U.S. Navy. My grandfather, Neil Michael Sr., U.S. Navy, World War II. And then my father, Colonel Michael Jr., U.S. Army.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My father, Jack Carrick, USMC, and my father-in-law, Anton Gass, both USMC, Pacific Theater.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My late husband, Michael Joseph Schultz, Vietnam Army.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My grandfather, Jesse Wilson, he was a medic in World War II.
Yes, sir.
My older brother, Wally Gene Reedy. And I don't want to be remiss, but Jewett Williams. Never met the gentleman in the Civil War, but I escorted his ashes across his country, our state.
Thank you. Anyone I'm missing?
One more.
Yes.
Ralph Frank Scalen, Korea. My brother-in-law,
Branch of service?
pardon me,
What branch?
Army.
Yes, sir.
Nathaniel Boffman, United States Army.
Yes, sir.
And most glad I ever did get to meet Private Tony Juris, United States Army, Normandy Beach.
Yes, sir.
My father, Albert Peterson, U.S. Navy, World War I.
One of the most powerful things we can do is to say a name out loud. You know, very often we hold those that we love, those that are close to us, right in here. And we never have an occasion to actually speak their names. And for some of you, I know it was difficult to stand up and to actually say that with a breath. But what you've done is you've now honored that individual amongst us all. And we all got to share in that honor. Let's take a moment to just bow our heads for a moment of silence. For those names that we read, for those that were spoken, and for those that are still in our hearts. Amen. And thank you. Please sit down. Don Finnegan, if you would please join me. And we have the mayor here. Come on, Mayor, I understand that you'd like to say a few words to us.
You understood that?
I understood that.
What a surprise to me.
Take a moment.
Actually, I do not have and was not prepared. I actually came, as all of you did, in support. I've got goosebumps from it, probably like most of you do right now. I came here not to speak, but in support. And what I would do is, as the commander did, and reach out to you and thank you for what you're doing, and really welcome you to the city of Monticello. You can see, I see this every day. And so I've got chills again from that, because we are a giving, supportive community, and no more than our branches of service and the AMVETS and the Legion and all of our service organizations. And so this doesn't surprise me at all. And if we didn't do it big enough, you let us know, we'll do it bigger, right? So on behalf of the city of Monticello, welcome and thank you. And thank you.
Before you say something.
Oh, George has asked me if I would like to come up and say something.
Short. 2 minutes or less.
First of all, since I'm in the AMVET family with a lot in this room, I personally appreciate all that have come out, and I was even a little shocked making that turn to the amount of folks that were standing out there. So you did awesome. You did good. You guys did good. And and people always have asked how we from the Honor and Remember Indiana group, which I include this organization because of their support, do this. And I say, Indiana is a very patriotic group, always has been. It's a very conservative group, but those that step up to honor, those that step up to serve, those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice, a very large share come from the state of Indiana because of their respect. So I tell them that's the easy thing on raising the money for that, because these folks get it, these posts, these service organizations do. So with that, we thank you for all you do. So,
one of the things that I'm sure many of you have seen many times, I hope, because Don has been so prolific in honoring the families individually, is the opportunity to present a personalized honor and remember flag. And so with all of you as witnesses, we have a flag that we'd like to present tonight. And this flag that I'm holding is an honor and remember flag that's embroidered, and it is folded in a triangle, as you see. But it's folded in a triangle because it mirrors the American flag that's a part of its symbol. Because this American flag was taken off a casket, folded reverently and respectfully, and handed to the family at the memorial of their loss. And this flag is folded this way to mirror this flag, But the U.S. flag is meant to stay encased reverently and respectfully as a reminder of that loss and from a grateful nation. But the Honor Remember flag is only folded this way one time, because once it's unfolded, it's meant to be a celebration of their life and a reminder of all that they have given all of us. And so tonight, I'd like the family of Augustus Vicari to come up. Who is here? And so I'm going to open this flag in honor of this soldier, and I'm going to ask Don to read the certificate.
This Honor and Remember flag is presented with eternal gratitude and respect in memory of Specialist Augustus J. Vicari. With this flag, we honor this patriot's unwavering dedication to remember their selfless sacrifice. By displaying this symbol collectively as a nation, we humbly recognize the enormity of your loss and respectfully say, thank you.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything.
Sure.
But
2 minutes or less.
2 minutes or less, okay. The first thing I want to say to everyone in this room, thank you. Thank you for what you do, not only today, but every day of your lives, because I know that this isn't just today for all of you. To the runners, I thought this was going to be a light-hearted evening, and it certainly hasn't been, but it's amazing what you do. I think it's disgraceful that there's been no national coverage, and I have a big mouth, so I'm going to see what I can do to help that along. I'm speechless. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much.
I know everyone in this room has to know by now what a Gold Star family is. If you don't know, it's a family member who has given a loved one in service to our country. We have a broader definition than some, but before we do break up, I'd like to identify and honor the Gold Star families who may be in this room. So if you are a Gold Star family member, by the definition of having lost a family member while serving or as a result of serving, would you just please stand so we can honor you? Say hello to these families and ask them about their loved ones and hear their stories. Other than that, I think you got.
This is the 154th flag presented in the state of Indiana.
Wow.
I know we're ready to eat as commander. Is there someone to pray over the meal? Before we pray, though, just in case you hadn't noticed, a lot of people ask us about shirts and hats and things. Over in the corner, we have some things set up. Anything you can do to help us. We need to get from one city to the next, and we still have 45 days to go to August 5th. So stop by, say hello, and if you can help us, that's great. Or any go ahead.
Gentlemen, please remove your covers, bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today. We thank you for the food that's been prepared before us. Pray that you use this food to strengthen and nourish our bodies. Bless the hands that prepared this meal. God bless everybody in this room today. For the families that are here, have lost loved ones in the Army or in the military. Lord, I pray that you watch over them and give them the most comfort that you can provide. I pray these things in your name.
Thank you for joining us today, this evening for today's activities with the long day. Changes in positions and lots of people that do different things. They had to leave our group, but we'll be missed. Join us tomorrow. We have a time change tonight, so that we probably will be an hour earlier than we normally are. So if you could please join us, really appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Thanks everyone.